I'm not a doctor, but I play one on a podcast. And,
okay, good.
I'm guessing
You're not,
probably
your name's not
ACL. Yeah.
Is that what you told him to turn his head and cough?
Welcome to the Empire. It's the Eskimo Empire podcast.
And here's Mike Riley, takes the drop, waits and throws, and he's going deep downfield to Darius Bowman. Oh my goodness, what a catch by Darius Bowman. You won't see many better than that. Franklin to Zylstra, touchdown Eskimos. Pressure's coming. Oh, Levi Mitchell goes down. There's a big play for the defense. Somersaults for everybody.
Welcome back to the Turf District for episode 90 of the Eskimo Empire podcast. The Almondo Sea Whale episode. Oh my goodness. Merry ChristMaas, everyone. Training camp is back. I am your host, Andrew. Thank you for downloading and having a listen. And of course, I am joined, as always, by the most excited kid in the room, Superfan Mike.
Woo!
How you doing, man?
I'm doing great.
Good. Boy, we got a fun show tonight. We're going to cover, of course, the opening of training camp.
Yeah.
The recent Esks news, some CFL news, which got even more so today.
Yes.
Another Esks History segment. And of course, we are joined by an amazing guest to award the inaugural
Jimmy Gaines
Award. First, though, I do want to say thanks to everybody who came out to the West of Us kickoff party.
A lot of fun.
Yeah. Really, really nice. I loved that we got a couple of new people, like Celeste and Dave coming out, and Marnie coming out from Spruce Grove. Like
that was great.
That was amazing. It's so nice to kind of just sit and hang out and chat with these people. And I thought it was a great time. And of course, Morley Scott showed up for a bit, and a couple of my buddies that I went to school with showed up, and it was just kind of cool to have such a wide variety of people, and we're all just talking football.
All talking football, having a great time. First round was excellent.
As always, yes.
That was great of them to have a little section for us. So
exactly. And first round, now's the time to give us a few things to give away on the podcast.
That would be fantastic.
We'll keep coming back.
Yes.
I mean, that's what we do. The best part of the night, though, garlic,
tots.
Parmesan, waffle, fries. That's right.
I love every one of those words.
As you should. Absolutely. Next thing, we just did the Periscope here, Superfan, and our Esks by the numbers, we gave away the grand prize.
Yeah, it was great. Just a lot of different things put together. Some great CFL items, some great Eskimo items in there, and congratulations again to Derek, who was our winner.
Yes.
We'll be emailing you and getting your details so we can get that prize out to you.
That's awesome. And if you didn't see it already, I'll try and post a picture as well. Superfan has diligently gone through and found a picture of every player that won their number.
Yeah.
And that's going to be made into a poster that there'll only be 3 in existence.
That's right.
I really, really like the way it looks. I think it's going to be awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's just a nice little keepsake that you can look at every so often and just look at all these different players from Eskimo history.
Yeah, and right now voted the top to wear their number.
Yeah.
So we'll do that again in a few years and see if it changes at all.
Exactly.
Do we have to change the poster? I don't know.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Is I think there's definitely going to be some that'll be different, some that are never going to change.
No, so some
I don't
are
care
locked down.
how many different people wear 42. It's going to be Danny Ray.
Danny Ray.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We're tight.
What?
We're tight.
We're tight. Perfect.
on a second name basis.
That's right. It's nice. Well, and you heard his voice. This is the perfect time to bring back into the Turf District. You've been very patient as we've been talking about all this other stuff, so thank you. But making a return trip to the Turf District to talk about training camp and all these things, Mr. Paul Rechner, thank you for coming back.
Hey, thanks for having me. It took a long time to save up to be able to afford the cost to get back on here.
I bet. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it did cost you a little bit of liquor.
Mm-hmm.
And a shirt. That wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it's good to set precedent.
Absolutely. I'm sure that other guests are going to be very happy to pay to be on the...
Oh, I'm sure.
They will be volunteering tribute.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like we should do the Patreon commercial right now. No, okay, we'll leave that for later. Training camp is open, boys. Before we talk too much about the last couple of days, let's just run over some of the news that's happened with the Esks. Of course, the major news being, of course, they brought out the fidget spinners.
Yes.
I think that's the big part. Everybody was waiting for them.
Yeah, I don't know how
You ordered
I could
3
be
already.
more excited
Yeah.
than knowing that we now have branded fidget spinners.
I know. That's what it
I'm
was.
still not sure what it is, but it's got our
But it's
logo on it,
exciting.
so I'm excited.
So you need to have at least 2.
At least.
That's right. That's what I was thinking. All right. Now, Esks made a few signings last week. Avion Edwards, who's a linebacker, national running back Pascal Lochar. Getzlaff returns
That was a good one,
as a Canadian receiver. Forrest Hightower brought in,
Great
which is a
signing.
great signing. And then, of course, on training camp day 1, as we're arriving, the actual announcement came out that they did sign Arjun Calhoun.
Yeah.
And he's listed right now as a safety. But he has the ability to play corner.
Seeing a lot of action.
Today he did both.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. I wonder how much that will change with some of the injuries that happened today. And I want to get into that in just a second. We did sign 6 of our draft picks.
Right.
Of course, Justin Sr. not in there. And the other one, of course, that's missing, Nate Bahar. Now, lots of stuff going around about this. And this is a weird one because all of a sudden again, we were talking about this with Jameson with the noise. Of what's kind of going on with this battle. And now the interesting thing to me is it's the same agent of Josiah St. John
Right.
last year. How much do you think that plays a role?
I think it obviously plays a role. I mean, he has a precedent by one lens being hard to deal with, by another lens maximizing his client's salary up front.
Yes.
CFL agents are not paid huge percentages. He's not in this for himself, for a big commission or a boost to what he's going to make off of this. We've seen in recent days, and not to get ahead of ourselves, but other cuts of veterans, players are very often not in a position of a lot of power here.
Right. Yeah,
so
no kidding.
You have to take it when you can get it a little bit. And if it means missing a little bit of time, if it means putting some extra guaranteed money in Nate's pocket or his client's pocket, I got to respect the player. I got to respect the agent in taking that stand. And I'd love nothing more than to see him in camp right now.
Yeah,
but,
no kidding.
And it's not doing anyone on either side any good not to have him here.
Right.
But there's so few times when the players have the power. There's so many times when we've seen them sort of on the other end of it. I don't have a problem with it.
Now, do you think though from these are all just third-party reports, but
Sure.
the fact that he's asking the money of like a top 2 pick when he was 5th overall, do you think that's a little unreasonable though?
I don't know if it's necessarily unreasonable. You can ask anything you want.
Of course. The answer might not be yes,
right,
though.
but it's a negotiating starting point. There's no point in asking for less and wanting more because you're never going to get more.
No, I agree.
They have exclusive negotiating rights with Bahar's agent right now because we did draft him. The only thing I have from what Paul said is you're talking about missing training camp, which is an essential time for these players. Josiah St. John really wasn't that effective for the Riders last year.
And specifically said afterwards he shouldn't have missed camp.
Right,
It
exactly.
did hurt him. Yeah.
And I think that's going to be... Because right now, I mean, Edmonton's got 5 or 6 different receivers, solid receivers on
Nationals,
their... national receivers on their roster right now. And I think that's one of those things where, okay, well, it's not a position of dire need for the Eskimos to get Bahar on the roster. It would be a great thing for him to be there.
Absolutely.
But they're not going to be like, okay, now we're really screwed because we haven't got this draft pick. So I think that's the position they're coming from. I'd like to see them work a little more, but from what I'm hearing from Sunderland, he's just saying, hey, we've made offers. The ball's now in your court, so it's up to you.
Yeah, and he said they've made market value offers. So now, who knows if that's, I'm sure the truth lies somewhere in between on both sides.
Sure.
Right?
Right now, we're only hearing the one side of it.
That's true.
And
yes.
I will admit it's a little interesting that we're hearing these things coming from other people.
Yeah.
I hate the word leak, but it's a leak. I mean, it's information that's being put out in the media to negotiate publicly on this sort of a thing.
Yeah.
Right.
With regards to the training camp specifically, this is a guy who's probably going to come in and be a number 5 national for 2 spots anyways.
Yeah,
he's likely going to be behind Getzlaff and Ajay and obviously
Shamad.
Chambers and Watson. So the camp isn't as important as if we were talking about a guy who was going to be a sixth offensive lineman,
right,
or potentially starting
backup running back.
Absolutely, this is a long game, so taking the time now to get it right might not be a bad idea.
Okay, that's a good perspective. I hadn't thought of it from that side of things. So, anyway, I know from when we chatted with him, I hope that he can get here soon because I like the kid.
Yeah,
I like his personality.
I like how it sounds like he's going to be in the room.
Yeah,
exactly. I think he's
going to be a really good teammate, which I really like.
I think that's what I want to make sure that doesn't happen is that this colors that view of him. Because this is an impressive character young man by all reports.
Yes,
over the body of work that he's done and who he's shown to be. I don't want this thing to tarnish his image before it even really gets started here.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we've had other players in not only in football but in other sports who have sat out, and I think they get forgiven pretty quickly if they show that they can fit in, do well in the community, and play well. Yeah,
this goes from his game to being his profession now.
Yeah.
So,
well, and then that's the thing. When it does come to the agreement being there, he's going to have to work that little bit harder to make sure that he is that guy.
Yeah.
Right? That personality comes through, right? I think that's very important. Yeah. What do you guys think with this happening kind of 2 years in a row with that particular agent when it comes to the draft next year, that the teams will be going, who's that guy's agent? Okay. That might factor into a draft position?
Oh, it could.
It could, but that could also just be a positioning thing by them too, right?
Oh yeah, no, it's just curious.
I saw a list of some of the clients. I think even just some of the Eskimos that are also represented by this agent. I remember Matt O'Donnell was one of them.
Mm-hmm. Okay,
and so I mean there are others where contracts have been done reasonably well,
and smoothly,
yeah. So he's taken a stance on this, and he's trying to get what he can for his guy. It could absolutely affect a little bit, but in the same way that an OTA invitation or something like that, an NFL workout might affect a guy and drop him a position or two. Big picture, they're going to get a deal done. There aren't a lot of other options for this. No one's going to want to wait it out. So it's just a little extra work up front.
Yeah. The other thing I'm thinking, too, is just to sort of finish it off, is you're talking about trying to maximize his money for the client. But if he misses, say, a month, you prorate that over the time, then maybe if he would have done training camp at less money, he might have made more.
Yeah, as soon as you start missing game checks.
Yeah.
Then it becomes a little different.
So, we'll see how that goes.
Absolutely.
Something to watch.
All right, well, let's get into the fun of camp. It opened up, of course, yesterday. You guys were there for both days, yesterday and today, and I just made it yesterday.
You were missed.
Oh, well, thanks. I appreciate that. Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure by who, but sure, I appreciate it.
There were tears everywhere, black bands.
Mostly Lonnie.
I can imagine. Poor Lonnie. Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll catch up with him one day. I think. Anyway, the couple of things that kind of jumped out to me when I first got the depth chart. Washington moving to the right side with Figueroa staying on the left instead. I thought Joey Figs would end up on the right-hand side taking over from Batiste. Did that surprise you guys at all?
I don't know if it's surprise. It sort of made me look and go, interesting. I would imagine they've probably talked to both players, and maybe Tony said, I can do the right side.
Yeah. Interesting.
It's different than the NFL where the left tackle is going to make a significant amount of money more than the right tackle.
This is true.
In the CFL, I don't think that happens nearly as often, so maybe it's just like, I'm getting paid the same, so might as well. Do you want me to do right or left? I can do either one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I got a 3-year deal. It's all good. Yeah, it's all good. I'll go over there.
Well, remember, Figs was the left tackle down the stretch when Tony was hurt, too. So
they both played the position.
They had a chance to sort of evaluate and that sort of thing.
Yeah, so that actually, it just kind of took me by surprise. I was so used to seeing Washington on the left, right?
Yeah.
Now, Marcel Young being listed as a cornerback with Hightower behind him on the depth chart. Now, that to me, I was like, this got to change, right? Like,
it might.
I think.
But for now, I think it makes sense to list Young as the de facto starter for the first couple of days because he at least knows the system that Benny's installed from last year, whereas Hightower, I don't think, has worked with Benavides. So it's going to be a little bit new to him. So, but this can all change. I mean, we don't know if Young's going to not move back in on the halfback position. So.
Well, and both of them can play either position.
Yeah,
Hightower's played both in this league as well as Young, obviously. So, be interesting. I honestly thought there was Young. They were initially putting a weak side corner, but it is on the strong side corner too. So, this is a position where you're going to have a lot of competition there, and you throw Johnny Adams on the other corner. There's guys that are very capable of doing that and having the flexibility in game to move around and play multiple positions.
Yeah. Now, you said Calhoun was doing some corner today, and on the weak side, I'm assuming?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. How did that look, being a rookie guy?
I think it seemed a little more natural from what I saw for him. He's had some time at safety, and he tended to want to commit right away. What I did like, sometimes he was really wrong, and sometimes he was bang on, and he stopped the play really early. One thing I'd liked is when I noticed him in the safety position is you could see him pointing at people, directing traffic and everything else.
Oh, okay.
Which for a guy in his second day in a CFL camp, I mean, that looked really cool to me.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's much different than I saw on day one, where we really didn't see that much of him in comparison, right? Okay, let's talk a little bit about our Will linebacker, because I think that's the part that we need to talk about today. So we had great depth, 7 nationals listed at the position, including my new fave, Malumba Shamanga.
I hope he's got long sleeves on his jersey.
I think we have to do it the right way. Malumba Shamanga. What a wonderful phrase. I mean, this is the greatest song we could ever think of. I love this name. That's
you
wonderful.
say Malumba, I say Shamanga.
That's right. Yeah,
I
exactly.
Say
I say Chris.
Someone did suggest us putting CMT on the back of his jersey.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he's already been nicknamed Country Music Television.
That's perfect. Now, those guys obviously super going to be tested now with Greenwood going off with an injury today, and it doesn't sound good.
Yeah, we haven't heard any reports, obviously, but he was carted off. He was helped to the locker room. He was putting some weight on it, but I'm not a doctor, but I play one on a podcast. And,
okay, good.
I'm guessing
You're
probably
not
ACL. Yeah.
Is that what you told him, to turn his head and cough?
Oh my!
But it is the obvious question. I mean, the organization's already come out and said we have the depth, and that was the decision, not the person that we got there. And we've seen bits of Smith, and we've seen bits of Konar, and they've certainly been impressive. Lalama taking an extra year to go back to school. Again, a guy that we've sort of been anticipating getting here.
Sure.
Parrish had limited reps last year. All of these guys are great teamers. All of these guys can play the game. It's going to be a matter of whether or not someone's going to step up and seize that role. Otherwise, there is the option of looking at making it an international position again, and whether it be starting another one in the secondary or
receiver,
somewhere else,
another receiver, may possibly,
yeah.
But that definitely, I think, diminishes the receiver. Not that the Canadian receivers we have are bad, but it diminishes from the 3 American receiver set is really kind of what we'd want to shoot for with the guys we have, I would think.
And we saw that last year, just how much more effective our offense was when Zylstra got in.
Absolutely.
And big credit to him, but also just to see that extra threat there that really spread the defense out instead of being able to focus on number 1 and number 2.
Well, I think
number 1 and 1A.
Yeah, we'll have to start getting some more Canadian receivers if that's the case. I mean, you have 5 Canadian receivers for 3 spots. All of a sudden, you've only got 2 backups. So
we should sign this Bahar guy then.
Hey, that sounds like a great idea.
Good plan.
See, I think we're going to have to suggest Paul be the AGM here.
Really, he's brilliant. That's what I'm going with. Now, you were talking about Smith. So was that Bull Smith or Burr Smith? We have 2.
It's B. Smith.
It's B. Smith. Oh, that narrows it down. Yes. But speaking of B. Smith, Brett Smith in the first day actually impressed me more than I thought he would. Not that, I mean, I remember when he played those games with Saskatchewan, and I thought he has something. Yeah, exactly. But then he started missing a lot. And what I saw yesterday was that the really nice tight spiral seemed to be making decent reads, especially in the first set that he was in. What did you guys think overall with Brett Smith?
I thought that today he kind of settled back into the pack a little bit. I think he still had some good plays. We saw a couple of little mini scrimmages where he was, or at least drills where he would, going through his reads, not seeing anything and taking off and doing competently at it for sure. I think all four of the quarterbacks, we didn't have our Canadian in there today.
Okay.
Seems to have really decent touch balls for sure.
Oh my.
That's two oh my's.
Franklin seemed to be working a lot on having touch on his throws.
Who was that again?
Hey, it's Franklin.
Jimmy Deuce.
Nice. Yeah. Riley looked like mid-season form to me yesterday. He looked really, really good, and Franklin looked good. I wouldn't go far as to say as good as Mike, but I thought that he looked good. So the quarterbacks in general, I was like, oh wow, okay, this is good. But Mike was really on his game, it seemed, yesterday.
Well, not only football, but beard game too.
Oh yeah,
it is quite the beard game,
Yes.
isn't it?
most impressive. There was a lot of standing and applauding.
There's a full week's worth of growth on that thing.
I think it was just one good sneeze. Actually, and it was like, boom, it was there.
Yeah.
It's just there.
The only thing I noticed, and it really sort of sunk in, is we've heard a lot of rumors about a Franklin trade.
Of course.
Whether
yes.
it goes to the Rectangle, whether he goes to Toronto, whether it goes to Montreal, wherever.
Yep.
The thing that gets me is if we traded Franklin, let's say mid-season,
Yes.
somebody gets hurt, Ricky Ray gets hurt in Toronto.
Yeah.
All of a sudden the value for Franklin goes up. We make that trade. Now we've got O'Brien and Brett Smith as our backups. So
Yeah.
anything happens to Riley, and that's what you're relying on. So it's definitely a scary proposition for sure.
The other thing, I guess, just with these guys too, is O'Brien and
got
Smith.
experience.
Yeah, this isn't their first rodeo for anything, and normally we always see that new American quarterback that's come in and seeing the CFL for the first time,
Right.
who's learning about that wide side out,
Yeah.
who's learning about the motion, who's
And the
learning
extra
about
DB.
or 13 if you're playing Saskatchewan.
That's true.
It's true, yeah.
But these guys have already gone through some of that deprogramming that has to happen. You have to forget everything you learned in Pee Wee, in high school, in college, and relearn some of these sorts of instincts.
Mm-hmm.
So they're already in sort of year 2, year 3,
Right.
For that progression. So having them come out looking good isn't a surprise to me.
That's true.
It's going to be what can they do when the lights are on.
Yeah.
Yes.
The continuity of Franklin and Riley with the guys, the playbook and all that sort of thing. It's natural that they're going to be impressive.
Yes.
I mean, these are talented men, but the competition is definitely going to be there for the third spot. And I concur with you. Getting rid of Franklin, it would have to be a huge return to be able to take on that kind of risk for a team that is likely to contend this year.
Absolutely. And I like the way you say that. That's great.
Still think we should keep him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Jeez, you're not going to get any
It's
argument
just
from me.
mostly for what I'm thinking is it's not that it's scary that, oh my God, that's all we have. It's just I'm not really confident yet that if Riley went down in week 5, that it'd be like, yeah, we could still be a contender.
And that's a huge part of it, is that confidence, not only in the fan base, but the locker room.
Right.
And I remember years ago, Calgary had traded for Danny McManus from us, I believe.
Yep.
And I had a chance to ask Jim Barker about it, and he just said, I need someone in the room that the team is still going to believe in if the starter goes down. So, it was a natural fit for that sort of psyche of the team to know they're not just...
The official Kevin Glenn Award, basically. Which is more confidence that the starter will go down.
Let's not go there. All right. One other thing I know that I wanted to definitely bring up was Aston Whiteside not there, and then put on the suspended list. Now, was he back today?
No.
No.
He was officially suspended today.
Okay.
He wasn't at practice at all yesterday, though he was on the roster. But
I haven't heard any reason why. I just know.
No, and suspension really can mean it's a personal matter, or he's got something else going on, or who knows, right? It's just he's, for whatever reason, not at camp. I would imagine no one from the Eskimos has said we don't know where he is or why he's not here.
Yeah.
So I would hope that they know.
Same sort of thing. There's always roster games that go on this time of year. We saw 2 players in Hamilton that got placed on the retired list today.
Right.
Does that mean they're retiring? Maybe not. It could just be a roster spot to free it up. It could be legitimate, but there's just so much gamesmanship. We got a player in this league that's now a vice president of player personnel or something like that is player development too. So, you do what you can to get around the cap and to get around the roster quotas and those sorts of things.
Yeah,
and be able to bring them back, right? The thing is with the Hamilton guys, if you got up with someone on a 6 game, you can only bring one of those back.
Yes.
So now, if he's retired, you can bring him back with no penalty.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's very true. I hadn't even thought of that part. Okay, so let's talk about a couple of the new guys so that we get some of that in there as well. Now, we already talked about Bryant Mitchell, and obviously it's his third training camp. But and he had a couple of beauty catches yesterday. Today, theme
followed it up. Yeah,
he was taking first string reps again. Brandon Zylstra started off playing with the first stringers and was again off the field, getting looked at by trainers. From what the reports out of the Eskimo camp are that it's nothing serious, and they expect to see him back in a couple of days.
Okay,
more precautionary, I hope, but that hasn't been said.
Okay.
But yeah, he looked pretty solid to me anyway when I saw him out there. And
by the way they were kind of handling it, stretching him out and stuff like that, probably either some cramping or a little bit of a tweak to a hamstring or calf or something like that. So camp's a long process.
Wasn't the Mike Maurer injury or anything like that?
The designated injury guy, the digger.
Superfan, who is standing out for you? Who would you put as your nominee for the
Jimmy Gaines
award?
Well, there's been a few guys that have stood out, especially in certain parts. I really liked Daquil Williams. I thought he had some incredible acceleration and breakaway speed. He had a couple of things yesterday where he caught the ball and he was running, and then he just went into a second gear and left everybody in the dust.
Really?
Which I thought was amazing. And Cass White, 87, another receiver.
Yep.
I thought he looked pretty decent. I actually liked Ladarius Van Leer.
That was the one I was going to put, was Van Leer.
For returns. He's listed at 5'6", which they kind of stretch a little bit, so I figure he's about 4'2".
Has to step on a brick to kick a duck in the ass.
Yes, exactly right. So he seems pretty good. I think Trayvon Van impressed me as well. I wasn't sure. I still don't think he's going to unseat Blanco, but he's giving himself a good reason to give him a long look.
Awesome. I would 100% agree with Van Leer from what I saw yesterday, and Daquil Williams. I thought that somebody came up to me and said, "Is that our 20-year-old Nick Lewis?" And I'm like, same big body, good catch, got speed. I'm like, that's actually, that's pretty flattering comparison.
Yeah.
But it is, I could see it. I could see what he meant, right? So, those guys really stood out for me. So now we've given all of these other things. It's time. It's time, Mr. Paul. You need to be able to pick who is the inaugural winner of the
Jimmy Gaines
Award.
Oh, boy. That's usually, no, I can't even say that's usually a day 3 or day 4 thing, because I think it was right from day 1 last year.
Day 2 for sure. We were sitting and saying it and laughing constantly, because he stood out on all those plays. Yeah.
I guess if I have to grab one guy right now, as a newcomer, it's probably Daquan Bowers.
Okay.
I think it's going to be a real good-looking interior of the defensive line with Armando, Euclid Cummings coming over. They've got some real experience. Daquan, of course, NFL pedigree.
Yes,
had some issues down there. Apparently, sort of got his head on straight, and if he comes in and is a solid citizen, he's more than capable of playing this game. Give him that yard off the ball to adjust,
to speed up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's probably the one that I've been initially impressed with on that side, and I haven't quite figured out how to work it into more of a soundbite format for you.
Oh, we got lots of options already.
Yeah,
this is wonderful. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll figure it out.
The other guy that's kind of caught my eye, and Mike went with the Trayvon Van. I've been more impressed with Ladarius Perkins. And again, I don't think anyone's going to unseat Blanco and even Kendall for that matter. But very, very quick feet. The one thing I remember impressing me of Shakir Bell with his first camp in Spruce Grove was the balance that he had, and that's something that I've noticed in Perkins as well. It's always tough to gauge running backs in drills and in scrimmage because no one's blowing them up and everyone's kind of going 3/4 pace, but definitely some interesting depth there.
So now, were you judging that when you were watching the running backs with their blue balls?
Oh my.
Yeah, that was just for clarification, they were running with blue footballs, blue colored footballs.
Well, we don't want to assume anything else, really.
Well, I didn't ask. No, I wasn't paying that close
I think
attention.
it's Grey Cup when they ask that question.
Okay,
usually.
Probably, that's true. Exactly. All right, well, we've gone over the new guys. We've gone over camp. So let's talk about some old guys. So, Mike, how are you?
I'm good.
Oh, good. Okay, perfect. We can go to the next segment. No, I'm kidding. It's time for our Eskimo history segment.
Let's hear you cheer and holler for a mighty famous team. Let's hear you roar, you know what, for a team that's on repeat. Our voices rise up to the skies, the fans are glad to scream. We love those Eskimos.
Welcome to This Week in Eskimos History. This week we will talk about some significant Eskimo-related dates from May 31st through June 14th as we have begun the 2017 training camp and have actual games just around the corner. Woohoo! Some significant birthdays from May 31st to June 14th include May 31st, Henry the Gizmo Williams, wide receiver and kick returner 1986 to 88, and again from 1990 to 2000, turns 55. On June 4th, Rod Conop, offensive line from 82 to 97, will be 58. On June 11th, Johnny Bright, fullback from 1954 to 64, would have been 87 years old. And on June 13th, a personal favorite of many of us, Hector Pothier, offensive tackle from 1978 to 1989, turns 63 appropriately. Current Eskimos celebrating a birthday in the first half of June, we have several. On June 5th, linebacker Corey Greenwood, in his first year as an Eskimo, turns 32.
Ouch.
June 8th, center Justin Sorensen turns 31. Justin's been with the team since 2014. Also on June 8th, quarterback hopeful Brett Smith, currently in his first training camp for the Esks, is turning 25. And on June 9th, a third first-year Eskimo in this list, cornerback Johnny Adams, will be 28 years old. Eskimos who have their anniversary of passing during this time. On June 14th, 1999, Bernie Filoni passed away, the day before what would have been his 67th birthday. Quarterback Filoni was a master of the split T offense, which was new to the CFL, having been introduced only the year before by 1953 Eskimos coach Darrell K. Royal. New coach Frank Pop Ivy helped convince Filoni to journey north even after he was drafted in the first round of the 1954 NFL draft by the San Francisco 49ers. And the gamble paid off as Filoni helped navigate the green and gold to their first ever Grey Cup win in franchise history. The following 2 years, Filoni fulfilled his mandatory service with the U.S. Air Force, after which he was a free agent and signed with the Hamilton Tiger Cats, where he had a distinguished CFL career, winning 2 more Grey Cups and receiving the 1961 CFL Most Outstanding Player Award. The Eskimos did replace Bernie well, as the quarterback that moved from halfback from the 1954 season, Jackie Parker, brought the Eskimos to another Grey Cup the following year and helped make the Eskimos a legendary team of the 1950s. Other important dates in the Empire. June 19th, 1988. Quarterback Matt Dunnigan was traded to the BC Lions for originally a 3-for-1 trade, but ended up being a 6-for-1 deal. Jim Sandusky came to the Eskimos for the 1988 season, and the Eskimos would receive the Lions' first-round pick, which Edmonton used to select linebacker defensive end Leroy Blue. As another part of the trade, on January 24th, 1989, BC was allowed to protect 2 players plus Dunnigan, and the Esks could take any other player. Then the Lions could protect 2 more players, and again the Eskimos would select until 4 more players were taken. linebacker Jeff Braswell, running back Reggie Taylor, defensive end Greg Stumon, and defensive back Andre Francis. This trade did help propel the Lions to the 1988 Grey Cup, where they ultimately lost to Winnipeg, but also helped set up the Eskimos for years to come, as Sandusky and Blue were instrumental for the Esks for years, while the other 4 players were some key cogs for 1989 and 90, as the Eskimos went 16-2 in the 1989 season, while the Lions dropped to 7-11. As a postscript to this trade, 4 days after the trade in 1988, on June 23rd, the Grey Cup winning Eskimos faced the CFL All-Stars in the final ever CFL All-Star game. Matt Dunnigan played at quarterback for the All-Stars versus his former team, and they were coached by Edmonton's former head coach and star player, Jackie Parker, en route to a 15-4 win over the defending Grey Cup champions. Thank you again for listening to another episode of This Week in Eskimos History. Please follow us on Twitter at Esks History, or find us on Facebook under This Day in Esks History. Until next week, fight on Eskimos.
Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. Going for a touchdown. We love those Eskimos.
Another wonderful segment, as always, Superfan. And I guess we are now into the weekly Esks.
We are. We'll be having a little more coming back, so that's going to be fun.
As we get into our regular season wind-up and then into the regular season, of course.
Yeah, exactly.
So, fantastic. So let's take a really quick break. We will come back with this week's CFL news.
Hey, this is Ryan King, Grey Cup champ.
And Calvin McCarty, also Grey Cup champ.
And you are listening to the Eskimo Empire Podcast.
Hey guys, do you know there's even more ways to interact with the Empire online? What? That's right, you can find us on Twitter at EskEmpirePod, on Facebook under the Eskimo Empire Podcast group, on Instagram at EskEmpirePod, and you can also follow us on YouTube under our channel, the Eskimo Empire Podcast. Now, I know you guys like that Eskimo History segment, right? Yeah! You can follow more of that information at Esks History on Twitter, and you can find it on This Day in Esks History on Facebook. Don't forget to share, okay? Okay! Thanks so much for listening. Let's get back to the show. Patreon, patreon.com/EskEmpirePod. And it is that time again. Thank you to all of you who are patrons of the show, and of course our Hall of Famers in Joe, Jedi, and Hippie. And thanks for all your help in helping the show out. This week we did release our very first bonus Patreon episode where we sat down with Mr. Dave Jameson, as we talked about off the top of the show. And it was amazing. He had a lot of great perspective as far as the off season was concerned, but also talking about another one fine story from Uncle Dave. Let's just actually, I have a little clip here. We'll just put that right here for you.
I mean, look, I worked with Hugh Campbell, and Hugh had me shake down a guy who was in a dumpster by Clark Stadium. So I know all about control. I mean, this is a true story. He said, what's that guy over there doing with the... And I said, you mean the guy on the bicycle? A guy, like that guy there? He goes, yeah, go over and see what he's doing. And I said, I go over and I go, clearly the guy is there to find tins. He's not looking to see what we're doing on, trick plays.
Yeah. Yes.
And I come back and I go, Hugh, he's really just trying to find his dinner. Okay, well, Wally will send up, and I wouldn't put it past Wally to... Okay, I know we're going to Labor Day, Hugh, but I'm sure you that this guy only wants, 5 cans, and, maybe if there's some food that's salvageable, we'll take that too.
So if you haven't already, sign up at the rookie level or above, and you get to join in on the fun. This, again, it helps us with some of the costs of the show, and of course the tailgate, which we're starting to piece together as we get closer, which is very exciting. But I mean, any shares, being a subscriber,
reviews,
any reviews, any of those, super helpful to the show. But if you wanted to do a bit more, we'd love to have you join us as a patron.
Can't anything better than that.
Wonderful. Let's get to the next CFL news. So
Nothing happened.
Nothing. Nope. Especially not today. It was all quiet.
All quiet on the
Oh my goodness.
Western Front.
So, the Montreal Alouettes pull the first shocker of Training Camp 2017 as they release Bear Woods. I don't even know where to start with this one, guys.
Shocking.
Yeah.
Didn't see that coming.
Yeah. 2 years out of the last 3 Eastern Defensive Player of the Year. High character guy, locker room guy, CFLPA rep.
Yeah.
Great hair.
Great hair, yeah. I had a chance to meet him this off season down in Vegas at the CFLPA AGM, and just a real good individual.
Yeah, he was on the Piffles and had a wonderful interview. Just a really, really nice dude, like down to earth dude.
Yeah, Brody did off-season In Touch episode with him as well.
Yeah.
And that is the guy. I mean, there isn't any mugging for the camera or that's the guy that I saw when I had a chance as well. So, soft spot for him, but the play speaks for itself. What his teammates are saying, what his coach is sort of even alluding to. Yeah. This is a guy who won't last long on the market. I have to feel.
Oh yeah, no, not at all. I would be shocked if he wasn't in double blue by the end of the next couple of days.
It's certainly a possibility, but I mean, there's teams out there that'll just grab anyone. We don't want to mention any names, but
I don't know who you're talking about.
Let's just say that their province is easy to draw, hard to spell.
Okay, that's true.
But we don't want him to retire yet.
That's true. We've got other players we'll talk about that might.
That's right.
Remember, BC's got a gap in there. We're losing Biggie
that's
to the
true.
NFL.
This is true.
Edmonton just had a gap potentially come up today. Now, cap-wise and ratio-wise, you don't know.
That's right, yeah. Ratio-wise, I think, is where the biggest issue comes with them coming to Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, cap-wise, we just get Saskatchewan's accountants and we're fine.
This is true. My biggest thing was, the relationship with Jim Pop, and obviously he... and then he'd be going to play alongside Venable again. I mean, to me, that's like
it's logical.
The logical thing, and he doesn't have to go far.
Yeah.
Right? He doesn't have to come all the way across the country. Now... like you said, though, are other teams going to put some offers on the table? Sure. I'd be shocked if that didn't happen too. But
if he doesn't get 8 other phone calls,
something's not right. Yeah, exactly. Now, the part with this that kind of took me by surprise as well, though, is that then afterwards, Chapdelaine says it's a business decision, and Kavis says it's football. It's a football decision. For that to be happening so early on after we thought that the stability was going to be better in Montreal, that was a little concerning for me.
To me, that just seemed like more noise, right? It's the kind of thing that's like you don't want to have your team, your administration arguing in the public.
Yeah.
That's something that can be handled behind closed doors with a phone call. Like, what's going on? Why are we doing this?
Let's get our story on the same
it, but you got to both, we got to both row the same direction. So
yeah, exactly.
It's tough on those sorts of things, and they do need the coordination. That's absolutely right. And this sort of laundry belongs behind closed doors, and we've seen other instances over the off season, whether it be players or that sort of thing. But you got to sing from the same songbook. Yep. And a couple of things Kavis said. Better to do this a year too soon than a year too late. Right. And he repeated a couple of times that he believes they're making an upgrade at the position. I don't know how you upgrade on a guy who's as I say, Eastern Defensive Player of the Year, coming off a great season. Yeah. But it could be something that they'd spotted someone in the camp and in the mini camps leading up to it, they had their eye. He already kind of said that this was kind of made up, but we wanted to see how he looked on day one. So, it may be something just where they felt like there was a little half step or something that just wasn't looking what they wanted it to be, and that just confirmed their decision.
But you couldn't have traded him? I mean, you got to think, even if someone had said, I'll give you a 5th rounder for him, you could have got some sort of asset.
Well, and then you control getting him out of the division or something that way,
that just was what shocked me. It's not that he's gone, it's just that they
the release instead of a
straight release.
Well, and another $20,000 in upfront money that's already invested.
And
there was money for for Silent Woo. Donnie O.
Yeah.
He went to Saskatchewan.
Yeah, exactly.
And I believe there was one other player as well. So I mean, there's $40,000-$60,000 off the cap. That's already there, and maybe sort of the cost of keeping your options open until you make a decision, but. That money makes a big difference come September when you're looking at bringing in another NFL body or something like that.
Or making a trade even.
Making a trade, yeah.
For someone more expensive.
Yeah. Wow. Very, very shocking move. And next week we're going to have an interesting story of where he landed because I'm sure we'll have that.
No doubt.
Now, a big trade, I guess, or a reasonably big trade as far as I'm concerned, with the Riders trading Armonte Edwards to the Argos and Peter Diakowski retiring. Going back to Saskatchewan.
He is Canada's smartest man, so you got to
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. I thought that was the tweet I wanted to put out was, what, Peter's done? I don't understand that. It looked like a good move for both teams. And the Toronto receiving core is starting to look a little more scary.
Sure.
S.J. Green, Armonte Edwards together. Those are really, really good targets for Ricky Ray. So I was impressed.
Look at the other side of that and the receiving core that he was coming from. Even with his departure, you're Duron Carter and Naaman Roosevelt and Collins Jr. and Hawley and Rob Bagg. I mean, Dembski. I mean, they were coming from such a position of strength at that position.
Absolutely. Yeah.
They were cutting someone.
Yes.
And I'm not saying Armonte Edwards would have been cut, but this was a logical move for them and to shore up something else. And
I think it was a great trade for them.
Yeah. I have to believe it cut Peter off guard because, he's getting cut in Hamilton and unceremoniously and signing down the road in Toronto. I mean, that's like Eskimo signing with the stamp sort of thing.
Right,
you don't do it unless you want to kind of stay close to home, but it is part of the business.
Yeah.
I have checked to see if John Miller is included with the trade as well, but I imagine he'll make a trip.
Probably, yeah. Well, there were some other players that did, sign with Saskatchewan. Jake Olsen in Hamilton, he retired. Marc Olivier Brouillette calls it a career, which is, I'm assuming, due to concussion type issues,
possibly,
and not. He is that guy that one more bad injury and he was going to be done anyway. I think.
Mark was a huge loss for them.
Absolutely
on the ratio. I mean, that was their marquee guy.
That's what I thought too. Yeah. Aaron Milton also retired, and I did send him a message, obviously, for being a great Eskimo, and I'm glad he never had to wear that other shade of green. That's good. Big surprise. We talked about it earlier. Moten Hopkins. Out of Ottawa. And a class guy in the community, a big leader on that D block, as they call it. And of course now a Grey Cup champion, but going out on top.
Absolutely. Yeah, he is.
Yeah, that's on every level, I think. Fans love him, right?
As they should.
Yes, yeah.
It's one of the things I was noting today is Moten's player rep for the association. Bearer is Brouillette was Ryan Phillips moving on from the Lions is a rep.
Yeah.
Keon Raymond hasn't been picked up by anyone. So there's going to be a lot of new blood in there in terms of the representatives and some of the ideas going. Ricky Foley is another one that
he was in
that got clipped too. So lots of potential change over there, and with the important job they do and the player safety stuff, it's going to be interesting to see how those messages are communicated. They've got a very strong executive, but they're going to have some new guys stepping up and being leaders in those rooms.
Absolutely. Now, the one that we kind of touched on before, Cap Coddy in Hamilton, I don't know if that's an actual retirement or he hasn't put anything out saying I'm retired, but he showed up on the retired list. Yeah, exactly. Very interesting. Granted, I mean, he was falling down the depth chart in Hamilton for sure.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are going to replace Chick and Adrian Tracy on the other side. So
Big Ted.
That could be a what?
Big Ted.
Big Ted. Yeah, exactly. So there wasn't anything. So maybe that is a true one.
Again, you would expect there would always be room for a non-import of his calendar.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, national. But he was a guy that was so much on the rise through the expansion draft and his early days with the Red Blacks. And
I hated seeing him go from us.
Yeah, me too.
You know?
Yeah. I think it might have been a miscalculation in terms of who we're predicting. I don't know that they expected to lose him, but seeing how things went last year, signing in Saskatchewan and getting traded to Hamilton, maybe it's sometimes just that grass is greener thing where it doesn't always work out, and if you got a good situation, and there's a lot of guys this year, there were too many guys looking for chairs and not enough chairs to go around. So the music stops, and there's some guys probably that wish they took that first offer.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, the last thing, I guess, CFL news is Ottawa gets their rings. Pretty fancy ring. Now, Sunderland was not able to get back. Now, I did enjoy his comment, which was I didn't have time to get back to get my ring, but I'll get it in the mail, and I'll get lots more while I'm here.
That was great. I was shocked when I saw the ring, specifically the inside.
I was going to ask you about that. Yes.
The thing that got me, for people that haven't seen it, is they had the scores of the two postseason games, both the Grey Cup game against Calgary and the East Final against Edmonton. But they also have the logos of the opposing team, which seemed very strange to me.
It seems bizarre in your own Grey Cup winning ring
to have the Eskimos and Stampeders logo. I mean, it did class it up a bit, don't get me wrong.
Oh, sure.
Having the Eskimo logo, but then it gets counterbalanced by having that horse on there. So... maybe that's why they put it in there. So, it's just for Ryan.
I can see it a little bit. I mean, everyone had given Calgary that victory. There was no one counting them out. And Edmonton, of course, hadn't beaten them the year before. Yep. So there might be a little bit special meaning because of who they beat in there.
I could see having the information there, but putting the logo on just seemed really strange. It just was very jarring to me.
Yeah.
First cup ring I've seen that has any other team's logo but the winning team.
Of any NFL, CFL.
That's what I mean, like any sport,
And then, of course, the thing at the very bottom was a bit strange to me, too, the whole thanks, Hank.
Yeah. I imagine there might be a couple of those buffed out.
Yeah, there might be. It's not that, Hank had a good year for sure.
Absolutely.
Played well in the game itself.
Grey Cup,
but I mean, so did a lot of players. And it just seems like to single one person out when it's a team sport just seemed a little strange to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little odd.
One, especially that person.
Yeah, well, there's that.
I mean,
I'm sure he didn't mind.
Yeah, there was a lot of criticism from his critics. That he himself singled himself out. He put himself above the team at times. And the guys in the locker room are all talking about what a great leader he is. And I mean, it was a storybook when he's playing, he's not playing, he's, trots out of the locker room after getting the leg frozen and stuff. I mean, it would have been an epic way to go out.
Yeah.
But you got to just be one of the guys, right? You can be a leader in the locker room, but that doesn't mean that you're the face that way, and especially the face on a victory when you win as a team like that. It doesn't sit well with me.
Yeah, the only time I've seen that where I think it's acceptable to have a specific player iconized on a ring was Don Warrington.
Yeah.
In 1981, having that 21 because he did die right after the 1980 Grey Cup.
And if it was Calgary that won last year, putting Mylan Hicks in there,
absolutely,
exactly,
no one would argue.
No,
right,
but a player that was on the field, it just seemed a little strange.
Yeah, he shouldn't be a martyr yet.
Not yet.
Yeah. All right. Well, last this isn't really CFL news, but I did want to mention again our Pick'em is back.
Yeah.
And I will be sending out the link for everybody to join that group.
Can I play this year?
Absolutely. Nice. Yes, you may. And this is going to be an exciting year. We're working on a good prize for actually the winner.
Yeah.
And we are working on a couple of different things with the Pick'em. And, of course, that will start once the regular season starts. So
shipping may not be included.
Absolutely. Yes.
So that is good information to have. I heard a rumor it's the Franklin jersey, so that's
No.
Okay,
no,
excellent.
that would be the wrong. Whoever told you that needs to be shot.
The
that's
Eskimo one or the Rider one?
Shut up,
Oh, wow.
both of you.
This is just getting worse
This
and
is
worse.
getting really, really bad. You shut your mouth. There, that's what I'm supposed to say.
Your
Okay,
filthy mouth.
exactly. Be the Argo one. Anyway, all right, we have come to the end. Paul, thank you for joining us and, like I said, taking the time to come in and talk to us about training camp and all those types of things. Tell us again a little bit about the CFLPA deal with your company and then where everybody can find you.
It's been an absolute blast for me since we signed that deal with them last August. We help a lot of the import players out with moving their funds back south of the border, better exchange rates and whether we get through the banks, cut down on the service charges, work with them about the timing, and just help give them somewhat of an education on some of the elements that go into it and how to time those transactions. So I've had some absolute fantastic conversations. I've had some cool experiences. Has been a huge intersection of my personal passion and my professional passion, and
Nice.
I'm on cloud nine around that sort of stuff. And we've got a fantastic endorsement potentially coming up here that I'm very excited about, and we'll hopefully be able to talk about next time when I can save up to get on here again.
Awesome. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Your
That's good.
tribute.
Exactly. And where do people find you if you so want to be found on Twitter and things like that?
Yeah, Twitter, PR Rechner, or ECHNER, or Payline by Ice, at Payline by Ice.
Perfect. That is awesome. And we always love your insight as well as the, of course, the reason
soundbites.
we have the
Jimmy Gaines
award. Yes, exactly. Superfan, where does everybody find you?
They can find me at 56 Parkies, and they can find the history account at Esks History.
Wonderful. And we should get a picture up on that Esks History account of that wonderful picture that you did up,
Sure.
I think, so people can see that. Well, you can put your rings on it so they so you know it's all good. You can find me at Esk Empire Pod. You can find me at Free Policious, of course. Congrats again to Daquan Bowers for winning the Jimmy Gaines Award. A reminder that the mock...
Whoa.
Oh, I like that. That's going to be really fun this week. I can tell. Yeah. Reminder that the mock game is this Friday from 2:30 till 4:30 in the afternoon, and both Superfan and I will be there.
We will.
Fan Day is Saturday from 1 to 4, and it is back at Commonwealth, so we will be there for that as well. And we'll be back next week. We're going to have a Hall of Fame patron, Joe, join us, and possibly an alumni guest.
Very
A recent
exciting.
alumni guest. Yes, exactly. So isn't it amazing to have the guys back on the field?
Absolutely.
Are the battles in the secondary exciting to watch? Absolutely. And are we beyond fired up to talk about a game next week? Absolutely. For Paul and Superfan Mike, I'm Andrew. Remember, you can't catch footballs with your face, and we will absolutely talk to you next week.
Whoa.
Oh, I like that.